What is going on, guys, and welcome to the 16th of January edition of a Monday Night Raw review show by me, yours truly, Mr. WWEcam, formerly known as, or actually known as, Cameron Cull. But let's get into it then and go through what was an interesting night on Raw. Just to quickly sum it up, I would have to say a fantastic start and a fantastic end. The middle bit, some okay bits, some normal pretty shit bits. Not the greatest episode of Raw. It was better than last week, but it wasn't anything too special, to say the least. But let's get straight into it. And we had a touching tribute to Martin Luther King at the start of the show, and other huge figures, black figures that have spearheaded So let's get into it then. Raw started with a touching tribute to Martin Luther King, as it was, of course, Martin Luther King Day yesterday. Also highlighting some important figureheads in the black community, and in black America, and in pop culture. So that was nice to see people like Oprah. To be honest with you, honestly, it was so long ago. Raw was so boring, I can't even remember who actually else was on the list. But that was a nice tribute from WWE. But then we got straight into the action. Well, not into the action, but into the show. And yeah, Roman Reigns came out and cut a promo. And for him, it was a decent promo. Albeit short, but it was decent. He made one line that I wrote down that I found absolutely hilarious, which was, "Nobody in the whole world can beat me one-on-one. Roman, get over yourself." But it was a short, sweet promo. Look, that's about as much as we need to hear from Roman Reigns. If he goes longer, it just highlights his frailties when it comes to his mic work. But then out came Mr. Paul Heyman. Well, Mr. Paul Heyman comes out, you know Brock Lesnar ain't too far behind. Or a decent fucking segment ain't far behind. Because whatever Heyman touches turns to gold. So yeah, he came out, cut a short promo on Roman Reigns and said, at the Royal Rumble, it is eat, sleep, elimination, repeat. And Brock Lesnar is going to main event WrestleMania, according to the advocate, Paul Heyman, who said, spoiler alert, Lesnar's winning the Rumble. He's not. Reigns then did the old, I'm going to threaten a little fat guy in a suit, you know, because that makes Roman look like a great guy, not a bully. And out came, not Brock Lesnar, but Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho, interestingly, hinted at the best friend versus best friend match that we expect to see at WrestleMania. More than likely for the United States Championship, but they were saying for the Universal title and the United States Championship. But Kevin Owens, he isn't liking the idea of that, and that's interesting, planting the seeds for what could be an unbelievable program heading into WrestleMania season. And then out came Seth Rollins. It was interruption after interruption after interruption, and it hasn't finished there. Seth Rollins came out, he had an incredible shirt on. Out then comes Braun Strowman, and then Brock Lesnar, and that's when it all started to kick off. Sami Zayn from behind attacked Braun Strowman, and it led to an absolute mass brawl. We saw Lesnar and Sami Zayn face to face. That was an awesome moment. We saw Reigns and Lesnar face to face. Strowman and Reigns. Strowman and Lesnar. Reigns and Lesnar. It was Owens and it was honestly a very, very good segment. I love segments like that where you see those face-to-face that you don't usually get to see face-to-face. The Lesnars and the Sami Zayns. It gets you excited, but this is exactly what we're going to see in the Royal Rumble match. And Lesnar was suplexing for days. Reigns then came back and hit him from behind. Cowardly cheap shot from Roman Reigns before Brock Lesnar showing his dominance, showing why he is still a dominant force with an F5 to Roman Reigns. So, this segment had some absolutely fantastic moments, it had to be said. Some great face-offs, some really intriguing matches. And with Lesnar's banning from UFC, and it's highly unlikely that he will go back to UFC, I think he might stick around in WWE for a little bit longer because Brock Lesnar loves the dollar. And a lot of people talk about, what's Lesnar got to do now? Who can Lesnar face? You know, Owens, Joe, obviously another rematch with Goldberg. But people like Sami Zayn, who the hell wouldn't want to see Brock Lesnar versus Sami Zayn? Because if you don't want to see that, you're either insane or well, you're just insane. I thought this was a great way to use Lesnar as well. You know, they could have gone with the orthodox, having Paul Heyman come out, cut a promo, Lesnar stand there, maybe a random superstar comes up and he suplexes them a couple of times. But they tried something different, and it made Lesnar's arrival and his presence feel important, as it should have been. I'd have liked to have seen him come out in the final segment and talk a little bit more about that, but I don't mind that at all. And it's also a unique way to start Monday Night Raw. And it wasn't, and we had it last week and we've had it this week. So unique ways to start Monday Night Raw. I don't mind that at all. And while we're on unique stuff, Nia Jax attacking Sasha Banks while she was getting medically cleared or checked out in the ring before Raw. Again, something different, something unique. And I never ever will criticise WWE for trying something different. Did it work? I think it did. I think it did work. And I think it was a successful way of advancing the story and getting a bit of heat on Nia Jax. The only thing I'd say about Nia Jax is, and the only thing that frustrates me about her is she really... Oh,
We're just going out in the first room. Hannah.
that's lovely, but you didn't need to tell me, darling. Pop, shut the door, please. Right, apologies about that, but back to what I was saying. The one thing that annoys me with Nia Jax is I just wish she had a voice that wasn't so... Her voice just doesn't seem that exciting, if you know what I mean. I want that monstrous voice. And I'd like her to somehow transition to that. Because she looks like a monster, she acts like a monster, and then she speaks and you think, yeah, no, you're not actually that convincing as a monster. That's just for me, personally. I don't know what you guys think of that. But she did say one thing. I broke the boss. Has she broke the boss, or is the boss going to show why she is the legit boss and beat Nia Jax? Look, this feud is a very good one. I think a lot of us wanted to see Nia Jax versus Sasha Banks. We're finally getting to see it. I'd like to have seen it for the championship. But obviously Banks losing that to Charlotte. But it's a future championship rivalry. And who's going to win this? I really don't know. I mean, has Sasha Banks' injury, is that going to... And the fact that Jax is exploiting that, is that going to prove the difference in this feud and in this eventual match that we'll either get next week or at the Royal Rumble? We'll have to wait and see. But it's certainly something exciting. But going back to chronological order, I did skip there because there wasn't... We had that random thing that happened midway through the show, and then Nia Jax cut a little promo, so backstage, so it was difficult to talk about it. Let's talk about then and get into this middle part of Raw that was pretty shit, if I'm being honest. We got Jinder Mahal and Rusev versus Enzo Amore and Big Cass. The feud that everybody just wants to end, and it just won't. It reminds me of what we had last year with the Golden Truth. It was just that feud that just never, ever finished. One thing I did like about this match was the fact that Corey Graves said absolutely everything that we have been saying for the past few weeks. That Rusev is in the right and is only defending his wife and, you know, protecting his wife. And the one that was in the wrong is Enzo Amore, and the fact that Big Cass is beating up Rusev because of it makes him look very, very stupid. So I thought Corey Graves was bang on with that statement, and yeah, just echoed what many of us have been saying for many weeks. And we said WWE, they're never going to mention it. They don't do that. That's their inconsistency. But they did, or at least Corey Graves did. He'll probably be fired tomorrow for it. But I was thinking in this match, I was just watching the match, and I just thought to myself, how Rusev has fallen. You know, he faced John Cena at WrestleMania 31, and he was on absolute top form, came in as United States Champion, and look, Cena won, and since then, it's been an absolute shitstorm for Rusev, and he's never looked like the monster he was. I mean, when he was on that run, where he was not losing, every Rusev match felt important. Every Rusev match felt special. Rusev felt special, and now he's just lost all his momentum. Is it recoverable? It is, but I think Rusev probably does need to turn heel. And he certainly needs to dispose of Jinder Mahal. Now, I really hope Enzo Amore and Big Cass won, which is not something I really hoped. But they did, that's lovely, whatever. But I really hope that is the end of the feud. It's over, they can go their separate ways. Maybe Jinder Mahal can turn on Rusev next week. and that can make Rusev become heel. Because the crowds... I mean, the only thing with Rusev turning face, would be the fact that, you know, he hates America and this and that, and that's been his whole entire gimmick. So going back on that would be perhaps difficult, but I don't think it would be impossible. Look, when he's in a crowd, the crowd that's... Look, when he's in a crowd that speaks their mind and says what they want, Rusev gets cheered. When he's in a crowd where, you know, the heels are booed and the faces are cheered, how it should be, some would argue, then of course Rusev gets booed. But when he's in a crowd where it will do whatever they want, Rusev is one of them. He does get a very, very good reaction. It shows the support and the love is there. And he's a fantastic in-ring technician. And I'd love to see him face somebody who was inducted into the Hall of Fame a little bit later. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. And of course, that was on my WrestleMania Dream Card, which if you haven't seen, make sure you go check it out. My WrestleMania 33 Dream Card is out. And it only takes 2 minutes, about 2 minutes 30. You can watch it. If you got time, put your dream card in the comments. And if you haven't, you can just enjoy the thought of what a wonderful show it would be if WWE did it the way I see fit. But anyway, let's get back to it then. I don't really want to talk about the match much more. It didn't go long. No commercial break, or at least not from what I can remember. And yeah, it was just a little bit meh, as the feud's been, to be honest with you. But yeah, I did like the fact that Corey Graves mentioned everything that's been on our mind. The Cruiserweights next segment, I'm not going to lie to you, I did kind of fast forward it. Because, to be honest with you, I don't care enough about the Cruiserweights, and that's WWE's fault, and that's Raw's fault, to waste my time watching what is always normally a pointless segment that advances nothing more than the fucking time and the clock. So that's basically why I didn't watch it. And the guy who he faced, Davario, whatever the hell his name is, the guy he faced is just a complete jobber in that division. He's now lost to Davari. The previous week he lost to Neville or Rick Swann. I can't honestly remember, one of the two. Or I don't know, so I can't even remember the names of the people. It's that terrible. I don't have enough time to watch 205 Live. There's just too much content on, if you know what I mean. It's difficult to, you know, I don't even really have enough time to watch NXT, to be honest with you. So yeah, I mean, it's great for those that can watch it. If you do watch 205 Live, you know, is it good? Do they do a better job on 205 Live? But certainly they're still not doing the right things on Monday Night Raw. Moving on then, because we spoke about the Nia Jax part, we then had Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson versus Cesaro and Sheamus for the Tag Team Championships. An interesting concept to put the titles on the line 2 weeks before the Royal Rumble, where I would expect them to be on the line again. We had a "This Is Awesome" chant from the crowd, and look, the match was good. I think it was, look, I would say it was nothing more than good. Pretty, you know, it was good. I wouldn't say it was very good. I'd say it was a very, well, I suppose you could argue it was a very good match, but it wasn't an awesome, amazing match. And it does piss me off how much the crowd chants "This Is Awesome" now, because it almost makes the chant irrelevant, because, you know, it's chanted so often. You know, when the "This Is Awesome" chant happens, I want it to be when it is absolutely friggin' awesome, not just when it's very good. But perhaps that's because we haven't had many very good matches on Monday Night Raw. But this was a good match. Advanced the story in a match format. There was a nice story being told. There were some really, really good near falls. But to be honest with you, up until basically when Sheamus punched the referee, even though they were really good near falls, what was stopping it from me from being very good was the fact that I was never convinced that Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson were going to win the title. And usually in a tag match, even if you're pretty 100% sure that they're not going to lose the title, whoever is facing, or you're 100% sure what the outcome's going to be, there's still that moment, usually, 1 or 2 times in the match, where you think to yourself, oh my god, I genuinely thought for a second there that what I didn't think was going to happen was going to happen. It was even the same in that AJ Styles-James Ellsworth match a few months ago on SmackDown, when I knew AJ Styles would win, but he hit Ellsworth with the super kick, and I thought to myself, Ellsworth hit AJ Styles with the super kick, and I think everybody in the crowd thought, oh my god, Ellsworth could do it here. And it's just that one moment that I thought it was missing. But just as I was to write that down, Sheamus punched the referee in an interesting incident. I thought that was good. Obviously, a complete accident. And then they pinned Cesaro and won the tag team titles. Or did they? No, they didn't, because the ref reversed the decision and I suppose played or went by the letter of the law and disqualified Sheamus and Cesaro, meaning Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson won the match, which is good for the feud, that they didn't, job. That it would have been strange if they'd have lost the match and then got another match at Royal Rumble, because you'd have been sitting there thinking to yourself, how the hell do we expect them to win? But, this is the club that we all wanted to see. This is a Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson we wanted to see. This feud's really stepping up. I think these guys can go one better at the Royal Rumble. There's intrigue for it. And although I did write at the time what a load of bullshit, because I was a bit pissed off that they weren't the champions and that we'd seen that, the decision was the correct one. And it really does get me excited personally for the Royal Rumble match that I expect to have between Cesaro and Sheamus and Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. And I will be rooting for Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows to finally capture their first WWE Tag Team titles and to raise the roof. And I think the match could be one of the best tag team matches that we will see this year, if given the right amount of time, because the teams are world class, both of them. And they have the ability to steal the show. The story's there now. And look, WWE's done well enough with this feud, I think. Trading losses in singles matches I thought was a decent way to advance it. But it never really got out of sort of second or third gear. But we're now really in fourth and fifth gear. The question is now, being Zoe at that high gear, sorry for relating it to a car, but who cares? Now that we're in that high gear, the thing is what I'd loved, and this is what I was thinking about throughout Raw, is why could this not have been the go-home show? You know what I mean? Because it would have been so much better. Maybe we could have had Goldberg somehow getting interfered maybe in the last part of the show, and maybe... But I think really this was a good enough show, there's parts of it that were good enough to be the go-home show. The way it ended would have been a perfect way to go into the Royal Rumble. The way it started was a perfect preview to the Royal Rumble. This tag team thing was a perfect way to think. The question is now that WWE has got, to a certain extent, and we'll talk about Reigns and Owens a little bit later, but that as good as it's been, can they maintain that momentum? And for the tag team division and for this tag team rivalry, the same is true. Can they keep, they've put it into the front gear, they've put it into where everyone's excited, we're in fifth gear, they've now got one more week of Raw. How are they going to keep that momentum going? How are they going to keep that excitement up for the match? And you would probably say, well, that should be pretty simple, Cameron. But this is Monday Night Raw, and they've had a terrible habit of ruining momentum of superstars, of feuds and storylines for a long time. So let's pray to God that they manage to keep this tag team match that will happen at the Royal Rumble in, top gear, so we are ready for what could be a very, very good match at the Royal Rumble. We then saw a tribute to Jimmy Superfly Snuka. I said RIP in the preview, and again, thoughts with his family and with everybody affected by his death. Not just WWE's a real family. And when you work with there's so many superstars obviously in the past that would have worked with Jimmy Superfly Snuka, and they'll feel like they've lost a friend. So thoughts with the family and friends, and with everybody affected by the death of a true wrestling great, that being Jimmy Superfly. Oh God, I've said it again. Superfly Snuka. Jesus Christ, can't speak properly. Even though I'm a young wrestling fan and I never got to witness Jimmy Superfly, when he was in his prime, when he was in action live, I still see a legend. I still see a great, and I can still see what an unbelievable legacy he has, and what an incredible things he did for the company. And it's people like Jimmy, and the Bret Harts, and the Stone Cold Steve Austins, and the Hulk Hogans, the Andre the Giants, the Bruno Sammartinos, that maybe I didn't see when they were in their prime, at least not live. I've gone back and of course watched action from the past, but they're the ones that carved the way for what we see now. Without those names, WWE wouldn't be the big name that it is, and of course I wouldn't be the big fan that I am. So it is those legends that created what is the global phenomenon, the global brand that is WWE. Very sad time for the whole of the WWE community, and it's sad as well. He's obviously, there's a lot been going on with the murder trial. I think was he cleared from that? I think KWE said he was cleared. I heard he was cleared. KWE said on medical grounds. Also he had cancer, which I thought I knew something about that, but I had forgotten, if I'm being totally honest. Was given 6 months to live and only lasted 1 month. So terrible time for him and his family. But yeah, rest in peace to him. And the one thing we can guarantee WWE to do is they always produce great tributes to honour those who have passed away. And this was another example of that. And it's a shame that, you know, it takes the death of a superstar for them to produce a fantastic tribute. But often is the case with WWE. But that's the same with anybody, isn't it? I think, and it's when somebody in the public eye dies, you start to just realise the work that they've done. You know, it's the same with George Michaels and with the Michael Jacksons and the Whitney Houstons of the world. And I know I'm going back a few years, but it's not until they die when you actually look back and you think what an unbelievable career they had, because that's when it all sinks in and their legacy begins. So yeah, I just thought I'd mention that. Anyway, backstage, Zayn with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. I don't know if I missed the announcement of the 6-man tag match. I probably had fast forwarded it, knowing me. But that basically said to me, right, obviously there's a 6-man tag match. A different side to Sami Zayn. I thought it was quite funny in this segment. Not a big segment, but interesting nonetheless. I'm surprised they brought Zayn back. I would have probably left him to the Rumble where he can have a little face-to-face with Strowman. And then more than likely Strowman ended up eliminating him anyway. We then saw, finally, a decent segment on the Cruiserweights. Or the Cruiserweights proportion of Monday Night Raw. And the one Cruiserweight feud that I'm really looking forward to at the moment, or looking and enjoying, is Neville versus Rich Swann. Swann coming out to the ring. I don't know if he's going. I would assume he was about to fight. And Neville attacked him from, I think, came out of the crowd. And I thought, you know, to be fair, this did actually advance the story, which is rare in the Cruiserweight division. So, you know, we've got a props to WWE for doing their fucking job. And it was nice to see sort of a different side to Swann, that vicious side that Neville's really got into his head. And I love Tony Nese, so the fact that he was getting involved was entertaining as well. And the fact Neville threw him out, maybe hinting at a possible future storyline, although it would be heel versus heel dynamic, although I suppose Nese could turn face. So yeah, very, very interesting. And I thought, yeah, it put the spotlight on Neville and this feud, and was a very, very good segment, to be honest with you. And I thought it accomplished exactly what it set out to do, so props to WWE for that. We then saw the New Day come out, and they spoke about the Royal Rumble and how they're all in the Royal Rumble. I wish Stephanie or Mick, who we didn't see at all tonight, I just wish that they would say to the New Day, you've got one spot. Work it out between, a bit like what Titus O'Neil said. Admittedly, he was saying, I want to replace one. I was like, oh god, no. I don't want to see you in the Rumble. But Big E, Xavier Woods, Kofi Kingston, work it out between you. And we then see possibly the New Day versus each other. And I know you'd probably feel like, what, Cameron, you're giving away that on a Raw? But I mean, or how else would they decide it? Would they go for Big E? Would they go for Kofi Kingston? I mean, how would they work it? You know what I mean? It just pisses me off that 1/10 of the Rumble is going to be the New Day, and you know 2/10 is going to be the Wyatt family. You know, to be fair, I want all the Wyatt family in, just not all the New Day. I'd quite like it to just be maybe Big E and Kofi. Although I suppose Xavier, you know, I'm clutching at straws. I'm moaning about stuff that really don't need to matter. Kofi hinting at, look, it's every man for himself, and then the New Day showing that they're a unit, showing that they're united. But for how much longer? Hint, hint. I'm starting to feel like the New Day's days are numbered. No pun intended. Out came Titus again, and it was just like deja vu, because it had happened before. And yeah, we got into a Big E versus Titus match where if Titus won, he would have taken away Big E's slot at the Rumble. He didn't win. Big E won. An average match. Titus O'Neil has really lost a lot of the momentum that he had mainly at the start of the year. Or when he came back from being suspended, but he never really had a lot of momentum, and I think his days are numbered in WWE. I would expect Titus to probably be, well, no, he's very good backstage, he's a good ambassador for the company, so I don't expect him to go completely, but I could see Titus O'Neil transitioning into a backstage figure, and it's early on in his career, admittedly, but that's something I can see happening, because the future of Titus O'Neil and the Titus brand is pretty much dead and done. You know, the match was predictable. And it brings to end, well, I assume it brings to end this sort of sequel of events between the New Day and Titus O'Neil. We then saw the Charlotte promo. Charlotte's so hit and miss with promos. She either blows hot or she blows cold. This was one that was kind of meh. So just kind of contradicting myself. She made a good point though. Whatever you put on the internet, it stays there forever. That is true. That is true, Charlotte. Very, very true. She also put... that was funny. Someone in the crowd was, I don't know, they were shouting something at her. They were distracting her, disrupting her. And she said, I don't think you can read. And she said to one of them, 4 eyes. I mean, God, Charlotte. Charlotte was savage in that segment. And look, if you're going to go there and you're going to shout, etc., and it does piss me off when people, chant and take over segments like that. It does piss me off, unless it's Roman Reigns. So I don't mind. And as a heel, that's good. And you can't deny, Charlotte's a very good heel. She makes you hate her. And that's the point of a heel. And Styles said about it the other week, and I love Styles and I cheer Styles, and he said, I'm not doing my job right if people are cheering me. I know why they're cheering me, but at the same time, I've got to try and make them hate me. And Charlotte does a great job of that. Bayley came out. Charlotte scurried from the ring. Bayley put in a passionate speech. Read a few poems. Literally read a few poems. It was okay. It advanced the story. There's the passion there. There's the intrigue there. Will Bayley, the underdog, be able to dethrone Charlotte and beat the streak? The biggest streak in WWE history at the next pay-per-view. There was absolutely no sarcasm in that comment. It was okay, this. Look, they haven't booked the Charlotte versus Bayley feud the way I'd have booked it. Therefore, it's not good. It's not great, but it's okay. There is intrigue for the match, and I think just because it's Charlotte and Bayley stepping in the ring, and Bayley possibly being... Look, they will tell a great story in the ring and in the match. That is guaranteed. And I think that's probably why WWE are being quite lazy with the way they're booking this feud, because they just know they're going to tell a good story in the ring. And they kind of feel like, then we don't need to bother making it a good story beforehand. Well, I think yes you do, because if you make it a great story beforehand and they tell a great story in the ring, that's how you get classic matches. That is how you get some of the best matches you've ever seen. Matches that stay in the memory. Not just from a technical standpoint and from a great match standpoint, but because you wanted to goddamn see it. But obviously WWE are too thick sometimes to realize that. I said this to Harry the other day. I said, I'm 100% sure that WWE sometimes does stuff deliberately to piss us off. Like, I genuinely do think that. Because some of the stuff is so obvious that somebody who was 3 years old could tell WWE what to do, could know what to do, and they still do the wrong thing. I honestly do think they do it deliberately, just to basically put their middle finger up to us and say, we're gonna piss you off, we're gonna make you angry, we're gonna make you rant on Twitter, but we know you're still gonna come back and watch next week. And the ultimate thing is, we always do. We always come back and watch. Even if I had, I took I don't know how long it was, 8-month hiatus from WWE and didn't watch it. I still came back. You just can't get away from it. And I know a lot of people like that who say, I don't watch much wrestling anymore. 3 months later, they're back into it. I mean, it's just insane. It's like an addiction. It's like WWE got hold on us, and it doesn't matter. Vince McMahon knows it doesn't matter what I do. You're still going to be giving me your money. I've reenacted my bloody subscription for the network. Admittedly, to watch the UK Championship and the Royal Rumble. I'm planning on cancelling it after that, but I bet I won't. I bet, the addiction of WWE and Vince McMahon and his hypnosis will make sure that I keep the thing. But anyway, I'm really enjoying this review, so I hope you are too. I think I need to write stuff down, because like I have here, because it just gives me points to talk off. So yeah, I think that's something I'm going to do going forward. I think it will probably be one of the longest reviews, if not the longest review, certainly of the year, maybe maybe on this channel ever. We'll have to wait and see, because we're not as of yet at the end. And we've still got a couple of big things to talk about. We then saw Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho and Braun Strowman's backstage strategy meeting, similar to the Zayn, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins one in its setup. However, Strowman was the one that stole the show, saying, look, Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho, get lost. I work and I play for one person, and that's me, because I'm a monster. Yeah, and I want to make a bet right now. If Strowman doesn't get the most eliminations in the Royal Rumble, then I will... I'm just trying to think what I could do. I don't know. Look, put it this way. I was going to try and say something that I do, but I can't think of anything. If anything comes to me before the Rumble, I'll make sure I mention it. But put it this way. Strowman is definitely going to get the most eliminations in the Royal Rumble. It's as simple as that. We then saw Brian Kendrick versus Cedric Alexander. An okay match, not given enough time. It didn't have my attention particularly. It was a quite nice finish. I like Cedric Alexander's finisher. And him dissing Alicia Fox is always entertaining to watch. And then we had the induction into the Hall of Fame of a deserved recipient, a deserved Hall of Famer, and we can now call him a Hall of Famer, as well as an Olympic champion, that being Kurt Angle. He's another guy that, you know, I wasn't into wrestling when he was about, or not necessarily in the WWE, not when he was at his prime. Some would argue he hit his prime later on in life, but certainly he wasn't obviously in WWE at that time. But again, it's another person I respect. It's another person that, as a passion, I have a passion for wrestling. I'd love to own my own company in the future. I'd love to own my own promotion. I'd love to, you know, lace up my boots one day and see whether I could cut it out in the ring. But I love promoting it. That's my real thing. I think I'm a good promoter, and that would be my plan, being a wrestling promoter. But anyway, that's completely beside the point. But he is so inspiring, Kurt Angle. And when you watch him wrestle and you watch how he just proves and he shows what an incredible art and what an incredible thing professional wrestling is, and he really shows that sports side of it and that just insane technical ability and the technical side of wrestling that true wrestling fans absolutely love. A well-deserved inductee into the Hall of Fame, and I can tell you it wasn't ESPN who broke the news. KW Tribute broke the news to me. I don't know what I've been doing. I don't know what rock I'd been living under, but somehow I hadn't heard about the Kurt Angle Hall of Fame induction until I read the comment from KW Tribute. So thank you for breaking the news for that. I really do appreciate that. I honestly can't believe I didn't hear it. I don't know what the hell was going on. I'd been on Twitter. I don't know what the hell had gone on. But Kurt Angle in the Hall of Fame, deservedly so. Please, please turn up at the Rumble, Kurt. And please have a retirement match at WrestleMania. And if you do, I'll lose my little panty wanties. Simple as that. And a fantastic inductment. And again, a fantastic promo. As WWE, again, Hall of Fame promos. An induction promo thingy-majiggies where they show a video package. Should be called video packages. But anyway. Always top quality, always entertaining, and always at a level that is very, very good. Kurt Angle is the first inductee into the 2017 class, I'll fuck that up. The class of 2017 WWE Hall of Fame, and he deserves it. Hopefully Daniel Bryan will join him. Or maybe Daniel Bryan's coming back for a dream match against The Miz. Could it happen? Will they clear him? I don't know what I've written here. I can't really read my own writing, which is always handy. GB. Goldberg is here next week. So we'll be talking a little bit more about that on the preview next week. So that's to look forward to. But Goldberg's on Monday Night Raw. I don't think Lesnar is. So I do think they're going to keep them two away. Which, as much as I'd love to see them face-to-face and in confrontation before the Royal Rumble match, is the best thing to do. Because it makes us want to see it. And that's something that WWE doesn't do enough anymore. They too often give us stuff before the pay-per-view. And it usually ends up with the pay-per-view matches falling flat. But they're not giving us that. They're not giving us that confrontation. They're not giving us that face-to-face meeting. They're not giving us, as I say, even that face-to-face meeting, let alone a physical confrontation. And that means that when we hear Goldberg's music at the Rumble, and when we hear Lesnar's music at the Rumble, if, you know, whoever's in the ring, if it's Goldberg's in the ring and we hear Lesnar's music, we know we're going to lose our shit, or vice versa. It is going to get us excited, and it is going to make that moment something very, very special and something incredible. Whereas if you give it away for free, for example, next week on Raw, whether that just be Goldberg and Brock Lesnar in the same ring at the same time, they didn't even have to touch each other. That sounded sexual, only probably to me. But if you give that away next week, then when we come around to the Rumble, and when we get that same moment that we're obviously going to get at the Rumble, there's not going to be that excitement, or not as much of an excitement as there will be. It won't feel as special. It'll still be awesome, because Lesnar and Goldberg in the same ring at the same time is awesome if it happened 100,000 times. But at the same time, if you know what I mean, it would be missing that thing, because we haven't seen him in the same ring at the same time since Survivor Series. And the fact that we're going to see that at the Royal Rumble is enough to make me tune in. And put up with the shit that we'll probably have to watch on the pre-show. And, I mean, is it 4 hours and a 2-hour pre-show? My God. Anyway. yeah, I got a bit passionate there. I got a bit excited. Did that see? I spoke about my passion in the Raw preview, and I still have it. You can tell when I let loose, I've still got that passion. And although Raw's been disappointing, I do think that it is true. I do think that passion is 100% still there, and the fact that I doubted it, I kind of feel bad for myself. And I think KW, you made a good point. I do need to talk to people more in real life, in real conversation about wrestling. I don't see Harry as much as I used to. We still see each other, and obviously now we're in a new year and stuff's starting to settle down. We're going to see each other a lot more often, and we're obviously, I think he should be coming over for the Rumble. Maybe even Lyle can come over. I don't know whether that'll interfere with his college, but I'll have to wait and see. But I do need to speak about wrestling because I do have that passion. I do love the business. I love the industry. You know, wrestling's in my blood. Chelsea's in my blood. Wrestling's in my blood. YouTube's in my blood. And, you know, I have that passion for it. And with me, when I have a passion for something, no matter how bad it often gets, no matter how bad and how shit it gets and how down and depressed I can get about that certain thing I have a passion for, it always comes through out the other end, and I always come out the other end, and that passion inside me always comes through. And that's one thing with me. A lot of people say, you know, and a lot of teachers used to call me lazy, and I was lazy. I just simply didn't do the work. I don't know how I got the GCSE results that I did. I just didn't do the work because, to be honest with you, I couldn't be bothered. And I'm going to do a video about it in a couple, probably, I'm going to try and record it tomorrow because I really want to talk about that. It'll probably go on my MrWWEcam channels. I'm trying to transition into a different thing, but anyway, that's a topic for another day. But yeah, when I have a passion for something, then I really do go for it. I really do work at it, and I really do excel at it. And that's one of the positive parts of my nature and parts of me. And I know that at times was terrible, but the effort in which I put in, that's why whenever anyone calls me lazy, I always respond by saying 7 years, 8 years on YouTube, and the, you know, relatively pretty much the lack of success that I've had. You know, we've had good times, we've had bad times. A lazy man would not upload over 1,500 videos. That ain't the work of a lazy man. Hell, the work I used to put in on WoW, especially WoW version 1, I mean WoW version 2 didn't last too long, but the work I used to put in that weren't the work of a lazy man. That's why I am not a lazy man. I just choose to be lazy sometimes. But I wanted to get that off my chest. I want to cut a little promo, shoot a little promo. Because as I say, although WoW was shit, you know, looking back now, for the most part, especially WoW version 1, the effort that I did actually put in, I'm gobsmacked I put it in. And I was thinking this the other day, you know, I do have it in me to put in the work, to be successful. And hopefully now I've just got to make sure that I turn that passion and use my passion, use what I'm passionate about to make something of it. I'm passionate about business as well, and I'm passionate about making money, and that's something I need to really delve into in the next couple of months, which I now have all the time in the world to do, as I have dropped out of college sixth form, which I'm going to be talking about in a video on the MrWWEcam channel very, very soon, so tune in for that. So yeah, that will be quite a serious topic that I will be talking about. So yeah, I don't know whether I've mentioned that at all recently, but anyway, we did go off topic, and apologies for wasting so much of your time, but I hope you've enjoyed this review. We've got a couple more things to go through, and we're going to do that right now. We've got the final segment: Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho, and Braun Strowman versus Sami Zayn, Royal Rumble, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins. Oh god, they're going to call, I bet they call Reigns Mr. Rumble by the end of the fucking his career. I guarantee it. Anyway, but this is what a Raw main event should be. We had 3 great segments tonight. We really did. We had an opening segment that rocked. It set the tone for the show. Unfortunately, we lost the momentum quite quickly. We had a fantastic tag team segment that really advanced everything. And then we had a great end segment. It's just a shame the bits in between were utter absolute garbage. I mean, we had the Kurt Angle induction, which was a nice moment, but excuse me, I wouldn't really class that as a you know, a part of Raw. It was kind of just a, you know, when the video package is one of the best parts of Raw for the other parts, that yeah, it wasn't a great show. But yeah, apologies if anyone's got my post notifications turned on Twitter last night, because I was just doing a bit of work with playlists on the MrWWEcam channel, and I realised that every time you add something to a playlist, it posts to Twitter. So, you know, I have my own post notifications turned on, which you probably think to yourself, what? But that's just so I know, you know, when I tweet, what I tweet, I can spell check things, and if stuff automatically tweets out, I know about it, because I had before where every single day on Twitter there'd be a tweet out saying how long I've been on Twitter. I sent it out once, and it then decided to repeat it every day. So it's to stop that sort of stuff. And when I upload a video, it posts to Twitter. Well, usually apart from this fucking channel, which I need to sort out and make sure I get that sorted out for this video. So that's why I do it. And I have 3 Twitters. So yeah, that's just why I do it. But anyway, I looked at my phone this morning. There's like 100 bloody... That was terrible. But anyway, I apologise about that if anyone does. Not that anyone would. But yeah, back to the match. This is what a Raw main event should be. It was a high energy bout. The intrigue was there. The superstars, to a certain extent, I'm invested in most of them. And it was very, very good. Strowman looking great again. And the winners of the match were Strowman, Zayn, Owens and Jericho. The heels won a tag match. I mean, what the hell? It was unbelievable. And I can't remember the pin. I think it was a Sami Zayn. Yeah, I think Strowman pinned Sami Zayn. But a very good match. High energy, high intensity. Everything you want on Raw. Everything. When you think of Raw, when you know, and when Raw was good, it was high energy. It was unpredictable, and there was that intensity there. And that's what this main event and the opening segment had in abundance. And it proves WWE can produce great stuff. It's got the talent to do it. It's just not doing it consistently. Raw needs to do it consistently, because if it does, then it could be awesome. I was thinking when this match actually went on, I've been thinking this week, we haven't really seen a tag team match main event a show in a SmackDown or Raw in a long time. It's been a lot of single matches. So it used to be, there was a spell where every SmackDown had a tag team match that was main event. And I'm not talking Teddy Long era, I'm talking about a year ago. And we just hadn't seen them, and they produce some great tag matches. I always enjoy these multi-tag matches. Some of them do fall flat, but usually when you put the talent that obviously are main event caliber into a tag team match and there's storylines going on, it always creates some magic, and this was no different. And the ending was very, very good as well. You know, great way to end the show. Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho on top, or Kevin Owens really on top, powerbombing Roman Reigns through the table, through the announce table, getting a bit of revenge for what Reigns did to him at Battleground. Rollins on the floor. We saw Shield reuniting again. We saw Reigns absolutely split Strowman in half. That spear was stiff as fuck. It was brutal and it was beautiful. I loved every second of it. And I loved the fact that Reigns got popped up through a power, but what? Got put through the table by a pop-up, not a pop-up powerbomb, it was just a powerbomb really, wasn't it? A pop-up powerbomb would have been, Jesus Christ, could you just imagine that? Anyway, so yeah, Raw was, for the most part, there was parts that were fantastic and there were parts that were poor, which you're going to get with a 3-hour show, I think that's what we're going to accept, but there are parts that just didn't need to be poor. You're always going to have those filler segments, that is a mandatory, and you're always going to have segments that are just average, but they don't need to be poor in somewhere. I'm going to give Raw a 5 out of 5. I think it was really, for the most part, a poor show, but the good parts reigned supreme. But the things I'm going to remember from the show, the tag team thing, the end of the show, the start of the show, and that's the good thing. That's a good thing. I'm not remembering the bad bits, because the good will stick in my mind more than the bad this week on Raw. So I suppose in some respects WWE did accomplish something with the show. This is a friggin' ridiculously long review. Let's just have a look on the channel, just see whether this is a record for the longest review on the channel. I think you'll find it is 32 minutes. I think that was a pay-per-view one as well. I'm going to be back with a SmackDown preview a little bit later on. I'll leave that till a little bit later. 34, that's not a... Yeah, this is 110% the longest Raw review ever on this channel. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Apologies for wasting 45 minutes of your time, but I hope you have enjoyed it nonetheless. I really do appreciate anybody that did actually get to the end of this video immensely. But yeah, record long review. Hope you've enjoyed it, and my passion for WWE, don't you guys worry, it is still there, alive and kicking. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Now I need to get a shower. I need to go do my teeth, and then I need to start the day. It's 2 o'clock. What the fuck?